For those of you that don't remember the development hell this movie went through, this is 2020's New Mutants. Spoiler alert, while I might be giving you my opinion on the film, that's no substitute for watching it for yourself. Links to the film are in the description. We're immediately thrown into Dani's home where a massive earthquake seems to be shaking her family's trailer. Soon her father barges in and takes her to the woods. After getting Dani to the safety of an alcove in a tree, he runs back to try and save the others from whatever inhuman being is terrorizing the neighborhood. After she watches her father get knocked back through the trees dead, Dani takes off through the trees and ends up knocking herself out. When she comes to, she's handcuffed to a hospital bed, and she drags the bed around the room to try and figure out where she is. When she drags it to the doors to the room, she realizes that the doors are locked, and a voice comes over the intercom to let her know someone is coming. Soon, Dr. Reyes shows up and comes in to explain everything. She explains that an F5 tornado touched down in her reservation, and she's the only survivor. I'm gonna call bullcrap on that. Even Dani doesn't buy it. I know tornadoes sound like freight trains when they come through, but that was pure growling in the beginning.
It's because you're a very uncommon girl.
Well, that seems like a nice way to say freak. That's common for these mutant movies nowadays though. They used to just come out and call them mutant freaks. But we've gotta be politically correct for mutants now too. Dr. Reyes explains that she is a mutant, and she takes her through the facility to show her her room. When Dani asks how long she has to stay there, Dr. Reyes says she only has to stay until they deem her to not be a danger to anyone, including herself. The next day, we meet the other mutants that are there: Sam, Illyana, Roberto, and Rahne. No one seems open to group therapy, but Dr. Reyes calls on Rahne to share her experience. Rahne recalls how she felt free running through the woods, but she felt guilty because she had just left a reverend that had beaten her half to death for changing. After ending her story, Dr. Reyes moves on to ask Illyana to show Dani around the grounds. Illyana is none too keen on being a nanny, but she gives her the quick rundown. Illyana is the absolute worst person to ask to show the new kid around. She goes ahead and eggs Dani on once she realizes that there are no fences. But when Dani slams straight into a force field, Illyana laughs her butt off. This is the most insensitive little girl, but she is powerful. I'll give her that. When Dani charges after her, she just disappears. Not sure if it's invisibility or teleporting yet. Little does Dani realize that a wolf is watching her from the tree line. When Dani notices the clock tower, she makes her way to the top, and the wolf notices that she is about to jump. As Dani stands on the edge, Rahne shows up and tries to talk her off the ledge. After Rahne brings her downstairs, Dr. Reyes seems like she's worried about her being missing. After reassuring Dr. Reyes, they notice Sam hooking himself up to a big concrete block, and he blasts off in a circle while being tethered by the chain. When Rahne and Dani go to eat, they start talking about where everyone has come from, but Rahne isn't sure what Roberto's power is. Dani tries to come up with a few ideas though.
Maybe it's just the crazy one. That's what's taken.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna talk about her like that right in front of her, I can't really blame her for being the crazy one then. If you start talking about someone like that enough, soon they start to believe it themselves. That night, Rahne walks Dani back to her room, and Dani thanks her for talking her out of jumping. Down in the laundry room, Roberto and Sam talk about their life before the hospital. Then Dr. Reyes notices a spike in Dani's heart rate and psionic energy. Electrical systems start to flicker throughout the facility, and soon, Sam is alone in the laundry room. He starts to hear beating inside one of the washers, and he goes over to investigate it. As he reaches out for the washer, he's suddenly transported to a mine like the one he used to work in. As he walks through the miners, they all stop and stare at him until he reaches the last miner. When the man turns around, he notices that it's his father, and suddenly, he's blasted back across the laundry room as the washer explodes. The next day, Dani goes to take a shower and she notices a brand on Rahne's back. After asking what it's from, Rahne appears to be touchy to the subject, and she leaves Dani alone. I'd say that if I spotted someone in a facility built for people that have horrible backstories like this place, I wouldn't really be making jokes about something like a brand. I don't know too many people that get brands for fun, and most of them regret it afterwards. How about we leave the tragic mutants to their devices for a bit? That night, everyone meets in the common room, and Illyana starts a fight with Dani that ends with Dr. Reyes showing up just in time to conjure a force field over Dani before Illyana slices her in two. too. The two of them are sent to solitary, and we see that Illyana's hand puppet, Lockheed, is a childhood comfort. When she has a quick flashback to her past, we see a being in a smiley mask lean over her, but we quickly cut back to the present. Meanwhile, Dani is having another flashback to the incident at her reservation, and she senses this great dark being hovering over her before she wakes up dirty in her room. Meanwhile, Rahne goes to the chapel to confess her sins, but she's interrupted as an invisible being comes in and calls her a witch. After this scare, she heads back to her room and Dani comes to check on her. Once there, the other three mutants all head down the hall to go to a secret spot. Illyana isn't too keen on sharing their secret with Dani, but Sam brings her anyway. Once they get to the attic, Dani sees the safe space that they all go to play without Dr. Reyes spying on them. Illyana brings out the lie detector, and everyone finds out a little bit about each other. Roberto explains that he hasn't been with a woman because he gets too hot. Sam admits that he thinks he belongs there, and Illyana asks Dani what her power is. Dani isn't sure what her power is, but she tells a story about how her father helped her through her nightmares by telling her about a bear inside that feeds off our fears. Yes, thinking that there is a bear demon inside me that feeds on my fear is the perfect way to make me not fear things. After that little conversation, Illyana pops up and tells her truth. She killed 18 men with her mutant sword. Well, let's leave her alone from now on. The next day in therapy, Sam wonders if they'll ever be able to go home, and Dr. Reyes asks him if he really thinks they stopped looking for him after his accident. What the accident is, we don't know yet. That night, Illyana spikes Dr. Reyes' tea and the mutants play through the facility. When they sit to talk about being X-Men, they all admit that they think Professor X is the one behind the facility. After a while, Rahne leads Dani to a secret place that they reach after crawling through the vents. Back with Sam and Roberto, Sam explains that the day of the incident happened out of nowhere. He felt claustrophobic in the mines, and suddenly, he burst with his powers and killed his dad in the mines. Rahne and Dani end up out on the grounds, and they take a walk through the cemetery. As they lie down and look at the stars, they realize that it's actually raining outside of the bubble, and they watch as the water causes ripples all over the dome. After talking for a bit, the two of them eventually kiss, and Dani sees the mutant eyes come out in Rahne. They aren't the only ones getting a little personal though. Roberto and Illyana are swimming in the pool and getting really close when he decides to drop the bomb that he burnt his girlfriend to a crisp by holding her. Way to set the mood, dude. When we look at the monitors, we see that Illyana was never actually in the pool though. Even if they make it out of this facility, I highly doubt that Roberto will ever touch another woman in his life. The second he finally starts to open up to a woman, and it turns out to be some ghost of his dead girlfriend. Nope, it's time to call it quits. As the ghost of his dead girlfriend follows him out of the pool, the alarm goes off throughout the facility, which wakes Dr. Reyes up. When everyone makes it to the pool, they find Roberto is completely engulfed in flames, and Dr. Reyes pushes him into the pool. After this, Roberto grabs Dr. Reyes' phone, and he tries to contact the outside world. Dr. Reyes isn't having it though, and after an outburst from Illyana, she locks Illyana in solitude while throwing the entire facility in lockdown. The next day, Dr. Reyes tries something a little different during Dani's session. After an injection that is meant to relax Dani, Dr. Reyes starts to question Dani about what she remembers before coming to the facility. While she's under the influence, she catches glimpses of what the facility's past holds. Meanwhile, Illyana and the others all encounter their own personal hell. Illyana asks Lockheed what is going on, and her puppet answers that it has to be Dani doing this. Rahne is terrorized by the same reverend that branded her in her past. After Illyana is taken away again, Dani goes to visit her and gives her back Lockheed after she lost it. Dani questions her about a memory she saw that wasn't hers, and Illyana explains that they were from her past. The men with smiley masks were all men that she had to make smile in her childhood. Meanwhile, Dr. Reyes receives a message from her superior that tells her to collect DNA samples from Dani, then kill her. Dr. Reyes sends a confirmation code, and we see that she's working for the Essex Corporation. When Dani goes to visit Rahne, she explains that she thinks the place she saw when she was being questioned were actually of the place they go after there. She tells her that they have to find a way out now, but Dani goes in for more testing with Dr. Reyes. Rahne goes to join the others in the common room, but they are all disturbed when they hear music in the hallway. While they all go to face some childhood nightmares that have come to life or something like that, Dr. Reyes gives Dani a story about how her veterinarian mother had to put down a dog. She's saying this while she straps a mask onto Dani. Seriously, if she's trying to get a reaction out of her, that's the perfect way to do it. Meanwhile… What the hell is that thing? I really kind of wish they had more mutant movies so we could get even more on the backstory of these people. Sam tries to convince Illyana that the smiley isn't real, but when the being steps into the hallway, he doesn't even seem to believe his words anymore. Back in the operating room, Dr. Reyes has finished gathering her DNA samples, and she starts to gas Dani. With Illyana and Sam, even more of those smileys show up, and they try to take her away. Roberto, on the other hand, is jamming out in the kitchen when one of those smileys shows up, and he wastes no time in burning one off of him. He gets credit for no hesitation there. Just as Dr. Reyes injects Dani with more drugs to put her down, Rahne drops out of the AC vent and attacks the doctor. As the doctor runs out of the room, Rahne removes the mask from Dani, and she tries to bring her back. When Dr. Reyes comes out into the hallway, she finds Illyana and Sam running from the smileys, but when she runs off, Sam convinces Illyana to do something. She decides this is a good time to run off and leave Sam to fight the beings. Suddenly, Illyana shows up with her epic sword and slaughters a handful of the smileys. Dr. Reyes, on the other hand, doesn't seem to be doing so well, but the mutants have made it to her office to look at their files. They find out that they were being groomed to be killers, but now they just want to escape. When Dani brings up the idea of killing Dr. Reyes, everyone seems all too keen to follow through with this plan. Dr. Reyes then tries to reason with the mutants over the PA system. Are you serious? There isn't a way to gas the facility and knock everyone out, but when they find her bleeding in the infirmary, she traps all of them in little personal force fields. Smooth move for someone that's literally dying. There were so many times that she could have just ran or locked herself in a bunker, but no, instead she stands there as a giant shadow demon bear shows up and eats Dr. Reyes. I'm sure that if she was conscious, she could get rid of it, but you know, things don't work out that smoothly. As the mutants try to survive the bear, Dani fights her own nightmares. Illyana goes to fight the bear on her own, but she's not alone. Lockheed isn't a puppet anymore. It's a damn dragon! Real-life dragon! This movie literally saved everything for the last 20 minutes. I will say that they should have marketed this differently. This was described as a dark horror mutant movie. The scariest things so far are the smiley things and how much it tried to get us to invest in these characters as stories, even though a sequel will never happen. Soon, everyone joins in on the fight, and they do a pretty good job for a bunch of misfit mutants that can control their powers. Meanwhile, Dani gets the best pep talk from her father's spirit in her mind.
It's too big.
You're bigger.
Rahne and Sam have been yelling and coaching Dani through her shadow mind this whole time. And you're telling me that all they had to tell her is that she's bigger than the bear? I get that it's supposed to signify the power within us, but I was hoping for more. Just like that, Dani wakes up like she was just taking a nap, and she tells the bear to stop. I kid you not, that's it. She walks up to the bear and tells it no. She's calmed the beast within, and all her friends are hurt for no good reason. Dani tells the bear that it's time to go to sleep now, and it fades away. As the sun rises, the mutants gather their most precious belongings, and Dani thanks them all for saving her. Rahne assures her that it was actually her that saved them, and after testing that the barrier is gone, they realize that they are free. The 5 of them make their way to the gate, and the credits roll. I'm a little upset about this one because after being pushed back so many times, I had hoped for something a little darker than what we got. It was a solid film though. I just wish that we had the potential of a sequel so I could really invest in the characters more. That's part of the majesty of Marvel. All in all, if you're a Marvel fan, I'm sure you'll find something here to like. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more like this one. Comment what you think I should watch next, and I'll see you in the next video.